Okay, we'll call it a meeting in order of the Newman City Council and Redevelopment Agency of November 28, 2006. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you bow your heads, please, and join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we're thankful once again as we convene on behalf of the citizens of Newman. We're thankful for our opportunity to serve. These and other blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tim. I've been reminded by our guru with the camera behind the scenes to please talk into the mics, council members also, and if anybody comes up, wants to comment, please talk directly in our mic. The new system is very touchy and you have to talk right into it to pick up the wording. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Parker.
Present.
Marquez.
Present.
Martinez.
Present.
Greenbaum.
Present.
Mayor Canizia.
Present. Declaration of conflicts of interest. This evening, ceremonial matters. I don't believe we have any. Items from the public, not agenda items. If anybody has anything that they would like to bring before us that is not on the posted agenda, that would be the time. See nothing. Agenda items. If an item comes before us and you'd like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and try to keep your comments to under 3 minutes. Public hearings, we have none this evening. Item 9, consent calendar. Item A, approval of warrants. Item B, approval of minutes of the November 14, 2006 regular meeting. C, adopt resolution number 2006, next to number, denying the claim of Albert D. Alba. Item D, adopt resolution number 2006, amending class specification for City of Newman employees. And E, adopt resolution number 2006, next to number, a resolution amending rules and regulations for the administration of a merit personnel system for the City of Newman.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item C, resolution 2006, next to number 4 discussion.
Okay. Any other items to be pulled? If not, could we have some action?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And item C? Questions?
I'd like to refer that to our city manager.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman. There were some new pictures and some new evidence that has been submitted to my office, and they were brought in pretty late prior to this meeting. So, if you'd like, I'd like to continue this item and let staff do some further considerations on this item.
I would concur.
Would somebody like to make that into a motion?
I'll make that as a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Regular business. Item 10. Item A, adopt resolution number 2006, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for preparation of plans for a new storage pond at the wastewater treatment facility.
Thank you, Council. Over the past couple years, the city has been working towards some improvements at our wastewater treatment plant that would better serve our community and making it more efficient. Also to handle additional regulations that are coming down from the state. One of the situations that the city needs to prepare for is storage of water out at the wastewater treatment plant in the event of a 100-year event. The last couple years, we've had the chief plant operator in the Public Works Department and also show you pictures that have been going on at the wastewater treatment plant in these high water years. And then we're also adding additional housing units on there. So in my conversations with the chief plant operator, Lance Perry, who's here tonight, one of the items that is very high on his list is another storage facility for water. He has found a location that he believes is appropriate. We've worked with Ecologic and actually looked at that site, and it appears to be very well suited for a new storage basin. So with that, we're recommending that we proceed forward with engineering this project. Under the timeline, we'll probably have this engineered in the probably early to mid half of summer of 2007. And really, we're not looking at too much more than a 30 to 60 day construction period. So our goal is to have this online in the fall of 2007. So that way we're prepared for anything that comes down in the winter of 2007. Also, keep in mind that this is going to be a large facility. It's going to be approximately 30 to 35 acres, right, Lance? 30 to 35 acres. And it's going to take probably 3 to 5 years to fill up. There's a lot of water that can be held in there. So any technical questions, Lance can further answer for you.
Questions of Lance?
I've got a
Ecologic?
couple, Lance. You want to go up to the podium? Will this new site affect any of the area you're using now to irrigate with your agricultural ground?
It's going to go just south of the existing storage reservoir, so it'll take up that field just south of there, approximately the 35 acres, like Michael said.
How's that overall going to affect your performance as far as having an area to now irrigate with the water?
Well, and that's the thing. Later on, we're going to have to look to more disposal ground, to make up for that 35 acres plus, additional ground that we'll need for the growth and whatnot. But this is kind of the first step. There's treatment, storage, and disposal, and so this is the storage part, just the most critical right now. So we figure if we can get this going, get the ball rolling on it, and then we can later on, a couple of years, worry about extra disposal ground and treatment then.
So with this new pond, we won't need as much disposal ground?
No, because we'll have more storage capabilities. Right off. I mean, eventually we will need more,
And Council, as Lance mentioned, what we're looking at here is a three-phase process, and what the first phase, as Lance indicated, is the creation of another storage facility, a storage basin, if you will, in the magnitude of order of about 30 to 35 acres in size, and depth is probably, 10 to 15 feet?
About 12, yeah.
About 12 feet. So that's a lot of water that we can store. Next, and then as Lance and I continue to work, and Ernie as well, continue to work with Ecologic, is, doing some upgrades to our treatment ponds. And then also concurrently with that, we will be actively exploring additional ways or acquiring additional lands for land disposal. So it's a three-phase process, but as Lance has indicated, this is the one he believes is most critical, and that's why we're moving forward with it right now.
That's correct.
Just a quick question, if I may, too, Lance. Sure. Being hopeful that it doesn't reoccur, but that recent flooding that we had from the river, if this basin were already in place, would it have helped to allowed us to evade some of the flooding that we had, or the overage that we had out there?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. We ran at max capacity the last 2 years because of the rains and the flooding of the river, and this would have solved that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we'll well exceed our, and I believe it's a state recommendation, I'm not sure if it's a requirement, that we have enough storage for a 100-year event. And
Yeah, actually, that's in our permit.
Yeah,
it's worded
so-
in our permit, yeah.
So we'll exceed that capacity at this time, that capability, through the addition of this new storage facility.
And right now, we don't meet that.
It won't give us any additional volume. Will that take us up to our 1.69?
Yeah, it'd be pretty close to taking us to our permit limits. You're only looking at it from a storage, point of view, not the treatment and disposal. So without getting those aspects in, I wouldn't feel comfortable at this time saying that that's going to increase our capacity, by a whole lot until we get those other things done too.
So this is more of a safety net issue?
Yeah, and give us a little buffer, yeah.
Okay.
And is it also a first step towards those additional?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because this is the most critical need right now, so we're starting here. And that, the plant just doesn't run good at max, and it's had to do that last couple of years, so.
Right.
And then the next component, again, as Lance indicated, will be we're going to look at new upgrading our treatment facilities, and then like 2B will be acquiring more land for disposal, and through those we'll actually probably be able to exceed 1.69.
Correct.
We may be over the 2 million gallon mark through those components.
Have you talked to our friends in Sacramento about that, or that's your?
Well,
That's coming.
we talked to them briefly about that. They were in agreement when we said how we
Yeah.
plan to proceed. They didn't balk at that.
No. Yeah, they're in favor of that.
I'm glad to see this moving along, and we just have to hope for an average winter this
Yeah,
winter. Get through
exactly.
one more winter, and I think we'll be all right. Right, Lance?
Yep.
And if the river doesn't come up, that'll be double thanks. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Further questions for Lance?
No, I'd just like to comment, it's good to see the progressive steps. It's something we've been talking about for like the past 18 to 24 months, and we're moving in the right direction. I know a lot of questions were asked about, particularly our wastewater treatment plant and storage capacity, so I'll move for adoption of the resolution.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Great.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I can sleep better this winter.
Item B, presentation of GIS format and practicality.
Several meetings ago, city staff presented master plan proposals to this council for, it was wastewater collection, wastewater treatment, and then water distribution. Part of those scopes of work had a GIS component to it, and there were some members of the council who wanted additional information about that before they proceeded forward. Because we had Ecologic coming down tonight with the scope of work for the storage basin, we thought this would be a good opportunity to share some of the power of the GIS, and we hope you concur with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to representatives from Ecologic to do a little presentation on GIS.
I've got a couple of very simple examples here. I'm John Walker. I'm the GIS person with Ecologic Engineering. And what Tiffany asked me to do is put together just a small presentation here that kind of shows the practicality of using GIS, some of its functions and how it works. It's going to be a little bit blurry, I've noticed, but I've got hard copies here that I want to hand out in a second. One of the biggest uses that we're going to see for an important use for GIS is the ability to take a look at your system based on install dates. Okay, this is, it's a very simple level. If, say, we're looking at the entire city limits here, eventually it's going to need to be upgraded in certain areas. Pipes may have been installed in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And without having somebody, it's probably in somebody's head somewhere. One of your public works guys probably knows the age of the system, that sort of thing, but he can explain it to you, but unless you're from here, you may not be able to visualize it. So what I've got here is I've got the entire first run at the sewer system from Newman. And so if we see it, it's all just symbolized in green. Nothing special about this map. But say somebody from Public Works says, the director says, well, show me any of the pipes that were installed before 1960. Just using examples. What I've done is I've generated some dates in the data here that we can look at and get a very good idea of where the system is going to be in need of capital improvements. So this is based on, basically it's a database that you look at through maps, is what GIS is in a nutshell. So what I'm going to do is I am going to look at that database based on a date. I am going to select pipes that were installed before 1960. And if we wanted to get a closer look, you see highlighted in blue there. You can see a few of these pipes here. Let me zoom in on that for you. This way it gives you a very good idea of areas of concern where you may need to look at upgrading the infrastructure of these pipes. So, oops, the mouse is a little touchy here. And I'm going to talk about some of the space data I have here in a second. So I kind of zoomed into that area. It's not selected right now, but if we click on a pipe, it tells us anything we want to know about that pipe. Now it's not really that clear here.
So when you say pipe, you mean like it'll pull up like a block at a time and tell you?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
A block at a time is how it goes, as far as it goes down to specifically, or?
It'll go to specific pipe sections.
Okay,
So what I did was I selected everything with the date before 1960, 1960 and before, which the highlight has gone away. But if we click on one of those pipes in that area, the layer tells me that it's a 6-inch pipe. The date installed, I just picked some numbers out of the air, 6/1/1960. Okay, so easily and very quickly, without even pulling out a paper map, we can look and see where the system's going to eventually need improvements. If it was installed in 1960, maybe old clay pipe, maybe breaking down, chance that there could be a spill. But if you wanted to take a quick look, I'm going to select those items again. And now, what we see here is, we see what you said, basically a block of data that has an install date of 1960 and before. That one, I happen to pick those ones and put the date of 1960 on. And if we wanted to review these overall, again, I'm just going to look at the database that's behind the line work. So it's lines, digital lines with a database behind it. And I'm sorry it's a little small up there. I tried to adjust it as best I could so we could see some better resolution there. And so I want to look at just these records. What we can do is we can get a cost estimate based on diameter, how much it's going to cost to replace this, whether it be $1 per foot or however the numbers work out. So what we have is if we look here on screen, I'm just going to kind of use this laser pointer. This record right here, I know it's hard to see, but what it says is it's an 18-inch pipe that was installed the first of the year in 1930. So these are just extreme numbers, and they don't really mean anything. But when you put the real numbers in on install dates, the type of material it is, what you can do is you can look at the life of your system and see how long it's going to take before you have to replace these lines and move forward. And then that way you get a good idea of the status of your system as far as how old it is. So that's one example I have here. Another example is how to quickly identify the size of pipes and in what areas of town. We could easily look at the major transmission lines, that sort of thing here. So what I'm going to do is, right now I have them symbolized as just a green line for all sewer mains. What I'm going to do is I'm going to symbolize it by a color. So for instance, what we have here is you can see this purple line here, and I'm going to hand out a copy of this so you can get a closer look at it. This purple line here, what it is I think we're showing that as an 18-inch main. So easily and very quickly, with just a few clicks of the button, we could determine where our large interceptors are, transmission mains, that sort of thing. If you're only concerned with looking at some of these larger pipes, it's going to help you determine capacity of your city, where you're going to need to upgrade if you get a new development in here. How are you going to delineate collection areas based on your existing infrastructure? And I said a click of the mouse. It probably took me 4 or 5 minutes to set up the symbology to draw by diameter of the pipe. And I have done things by hand in the past, and that means dragging out maps, looking at them, picking out lines based on a construction drawing or an as-built, picking out those lines, and then determining by hand, you know, okay, there's a line here that's 21 inches, so you can show it, you highlight it or whatever you do. So, and that takes a little bit of time, and I have a couple of clients that still like to do it that way, but they're slowly moving into the GIS world. I'm working for the South Placer Municipal Utility District. Everything they've done has been by hand. And I think I want to show you guys a couple of of what I've done for them, and then show you some printed examples of these maps here. So what I'm going to hand around is, I'm going to actually have to ask for this back. This is one of their Go Red lines. So I brought it down. What you see here is what their drafter has done. He's drafted 104 pages of sewer lines. So basically he gets data from a developer, they hand it to him in a hard copy, he cuts it out, puts the parcel base on, photocopies it, and then he hand draws in all the sewer lines, labels them, labels all the manholes, that sort of thing. So he realizes that that's an old way to do it. There may be a new way to do it. So what they've done is they've asked Ecologic to take their paper maps and make them digital now. And what it is the state's requiring a needs analysis of their sewer system. They just want to be going in the right direction to get this analysis done. So when they approach the state and say, hey, look, we're using GIS, we have all these databases, the lines have been TV'd, we have that all digital. The state sees that they're going in the right direction, and then eventually they can look at a new master plan based on digital data versus this hard copy. So original here by hand, what I produced in GIS. And for them, what I've done is the lines have an ID number, the manholes have an ID number. They have an existing maintenance database for their sewer, which is just, like I said, a database. There's no line work associated. And what I do is I associate that database with a line. So now, if I click on a line, it gives me diameter, it gives me date installed, last date it was TV'd, any special comments that's in there. The manhole shows me inward elevation for upstream, downstream, ID number, that sort of thing. So very, very powerful. And what I've showed you is a basic use of GIS. I didn't really talk about the base data, but you're going to see that here. You're going to see the base data here. What I have is some the parcel base, just drawn as lines, and then I have some. Let me go ahead and hand this around. And this has a legend on it and everything. It shows you. The mains are symbolized by color right now. If they're an 18, if they're a 21, if they're a 15, you're able to see that. And keep in mind there is a database behind this. And there's a database for everything, not only sewer lines. So if I click on a parcel here, it's going to pop open and say, this happens to be planning data. I click on that parcel, it gives me an APN number. So you could very quickly tie that APN number with the assessor, see who owns it, see when it was purchased, assess land value, that sort of thing. And that works real well, and that data is available to the city right now. All it has to be done is implemented along with the sewer lines, and you have everything that's there. There's roads data, there's lakes, there's streams. We have I have some digital topographic maps from the USGS that we'll see here in a second. Look in the background. I'm going to turn off a couple of these layers here so we can see. So we can take a look at that digital data in the background. And like I said, this is just from the USGS. It's free on the internet. I download it and make it usable in GIS. I'm sorry this is kind of not the best way to see it, but it's okay. Thank you. I'm going to hand out one more example. So what I handed out there was an example of lines drawn by size. You know, in a few clicks of the mouse, we can actually visually see it now, versus me going to dig out a map and somebody's highlighted it with different colors and that sort of thing. This one is the original one we looked at. It's just the entire sewer infrastructure drawn by one color. So you can see where your lines are, and you can see where they are in relation to parcel base. It shows manholes, shows clean outs, it shows your catch basins, lift stations, all that sort of thing. And all of those will have data behind it. So you can see how big your lift station is, when it was installed, you know, all the basic information. And before this, I've done a little bit of digging, and there is, there's a whole bunch of GIS data layers available from the county that you can just add to your system, and the data is usable right now. So that very simply is what some of the power of GIS. There's more analysis that you can do with GIS. You could determine how many feet of 8-inch pipe you have in your system currently. And what you can do is you can associate that cost with how much your infrastructure is worth. Some of the work I've done in Reno for the Water Authority, they're doing just that. They're the people that count beans is what they call them up there too. They want to know how much this water system is worth per foot. So they're able to do that sort of analysis in GIS rather quickly. So they don't actually have somebody measuring off a map saying this is 100 feet of pipe, it's going to cost X amount of dollars. They can very quickly query that, run some statistics on it, and associate a dollar figure with it. So, and if you have any questions, I think that's it in a nutshell. I know I went over it really quickly and very simply, but if you have anything else that I can answer, I'd be more than happy to.
Go ahead, Bob.
Just your analysis of the system and what parts of it need to be replaced at what time. Do you use cameras to evaluate the system?
Yes, if you already have cameras in place for your Public Works Department, if they have some of that data can be associated with the GIS data. So what you would do in its simplest form is you would add a field into the database that says TV date,
Okay.
and then give a link to the file. And so all they do is click on the line, gives you the last time it was TV'd. If you wanted to see the video, go pick up the video. So it can be associated.
Okay, thank you.
And any of these maps can be hard copies. They could be a digital form. You just export the map to a PDF that you can email to Tiffany up at Ecologic and say, hey, can we look at this area here? There's something going on. Or you can, that can be done in a few minutes versus printing something out and sending it out by mail or however. So that's another good use of it.
Further questions? I had a question from Michael. I see in the staff report, staff's recommending that we go with the GIS database. Under fiscal impact, it says none.
You included it in the budget adjustment for the original scopes of work, but you didn't authorize it to include it in the amendment.
What, refresh my memory, what was the?
At the meeting when we adopted the master plans, it was augmented in the budget that be included, and then the presentation came back, and then you were going to decide whether or not to include that part of the scope of work into the project.
But I mean, refresh my memory what the cost was. Was it like
You're
30 or
looking in
something?
the $30,000 to
I
$35,000
thought it was
range.
30.
And let me just add a little bit more information, if I might. Dating as far back even to when I was in college, which is too long ago.
That was last week.
GIS is a very valuable tool, not only from a public works perspective. We are also getting GIS database from our general plan. So one of the things that we're talking about doing, and we're hoping that we can accomplish, is on our website that people can go there, click on their property, and have the information in front of them, how big their property is, and that's all from county information, what is zoned, what the general plan is. So people can access that information from their own homes. They don't have to call staff. We don't have to respond. We don't have to play phone tag with them. All that information is in there. I mean, this is another extreme to have all the water and sewer on there. I wouldn't want to put that information on there, on the website, obviously, for public health and safety concerns, but it is definitely something that can be done. It also allows staff to systematically start programming when this infrastructure needs to be replaced. I mean, there's a lifespan for infrastructure, and so this helps us maintain and track it in big groups. Also, there's GATSB 34, which is the General Governmental Accounting Standards, something or other. We have to start auditing, and our auditors are telling us this right now. We have to start taking into account all of our streets, all of our sewer lines, assessing it, how much land, how much value that it has, include that as an asset in our accounting principles. So this is just another tool that we can have. We are requiring developers to come out and give us databases, as-built in CAD format. That automatically programs into what we already have here. So what we're looking at is establishing the database for the existing system that we already have right now. And that was stuff that was created, many moons ago when Newman was constructed. So GIS is also a valuable tool for law enforcement. You can look and they can program where crimes have occurred within our city. It's a valuable tool for, again, planning, public works. Lots of different agencies are using this valuable tool. You can put in a aerial photo underneath this, and so you can click on and see your house on there as part of it. There's lots of different things that you can do with GIS, and the gentleman John was talking about clicking on a sewer line and it'll show you a run, tell you when it was last TV. You can also attach images to it. So if it was a manhole, you can attach an image to that. So if Ernie wanted to, he attaches an image to this manhole. So when you click on it, and they have a different field over here, you can click on the image and know what that manhole looks like. Maybe Ernie had to go out and replace a manhole or fix a manhole. He can go out there and look at that, and then he knows at that date and time what that manhole looks like, what he did to that manhole. And it's easy for him to access that information instead of trying to mull around and go find Denton and ask Denton the last time he replaced a water line over on that part of town, what size line he put in. And
Stevens Avenue. Oh.
Yeah, what other time
Every
services
other day, right, Ernie?
It would also, like, annually, the city could, Ernie's department could annually show you a map. We could produce a map really easily that shows you everything that's been done in terms of maintenance that particular year. So you can see if there's clusters. Stevens Avenue is one of them. Maybe there's a cluster out there of broken water lines.
There is, I know.
Maybe that's an indication that, hey, we need to start taking some serious consideration in this particular area here and look at doing some upgrades to the existing system. So you can go out and pick these things out. We can readily track all projects that are under construction, where they're going. We can track Caltrans things. You can do traffic counts on there. It's a very valuable tool, and I know I'm pushing it very hard, but it's just because GIS is not only a valuable tool right now, but it's a valuable tool in the future. And from my perspective, I look at it as an investment into this community and an investment into the future. And if they're doing a lot of the work right now already, I think it's worthwhile for us to continue to build our database.
I do have one thing to add that I didn't touch on, and we've actually done this in the city of Lincoln. They asked us, how are we going to support GIS? How much is it going to cost us over the years? And what we did was we ran through their water system and determined how much work it was going to take to get their GIS up and running. And what they've done is they've actually, to pay for their GIS, they use connection fees. Lincoln's a growing city, so all these developments, they have a water meter at every house. And it's a few dollars per connection that helps support the GIS. And for what's needed here, the GIS is pretty inexpensive. If you had one person that wanted to use it right now, you wouldn't need the absolute biggest GIS package of software you could get. You could get the lowest level, like I'm doing in South Placer for their sewer system. They're buying one copy of it for $1,500, a one-time charge, and then they pay a yearly maintenance fee on that, which is, I think it's around $350. And that provides you all your support from ESRI, which is the company that does the software. So very inexpensive, but very powerful. So I just wanted to add that as far as if you're concerned about how you're going to pay for it, connection fees is one way to do it. What you'd have to do is just assess and come up with a number. And that's kind of how they do it in Reno too for the water authority, that sort of thing. So there are ways to pay for it without, strapping your budget. So,
John, one further question. For the amount of money that we're spending, exactly what are we getting?
Exactly what you're getting. You're going to get a complete sewer database. You're going to get any of your treatment plant information in a database that can be viewed on screen as well. Basically data tied to a line, a point, or an area. The planning data is all there. You could quickly go through and look at all areas that are vacant. Say the city wanted to pick up another piece of land to help expand their plant. So you're going to have all your planning data. You're going to have your sewer data, water data possibly. You're going to have any data that the county could provide, assessor's data, parcel base, orthophotography, which some aerial photos is what I mean by that. So you're going to have all these various GIS layers to draw from to produce a product that says, well, we really need to concentrate on this area of town, or eventually the police department may use these maps, have a laptop in their car, they need to get somewhere that they search for an address, here it is, So you will have all the base layers you need to do any analysis of that type.
So how many of these programs are going to be in a completed form that we're going to get?
How many of those?
Yes.
All the data sets will be complete, which I don't have a number right now. And then any of the other items that you would like to see, say you want the photos tied to a manhole or the imagery, we'd have to just take a quick look at that and see what's available from Public Works and how to just tie that into the system while we're building it. So pretty much up to your imagination on what you'd like to see in the GIS. But what we'd provide is the base information, not the most basic, but enough information to get the ball rolling and do some analysis and take a good look at things from a database standpoint.
How far will that take us, Michael? When will we have to update, in your opinion?
Well, what it is when you get the database system, the hardest thing about GIS is just acquiring the database, getting the information in there, because that's what it is. It's a geographical information system. So the more information that you have, the more informed decisions that you can make, the more complex queries that you can do onto the system. So for this particular system, again, we're getting our complete sewer and our complete water systems added to this. And so we'll know exactly what size water lines they are, and this will all be coming in as part of, when we start doing master plans, some of the arrangements that are in there. You can see bottlenecks that may occur within our sewer collection system. So we can do some upgrades there that might be able to create some additional capacity in those particular lines. There's a lot of tools that you can do with it. And again, I think it's from my perspective, again, it seems like a large number, but from the perspective that it brings to the city, and it's an investment into our future, and it'll save time. I mean, it will definitely save time and money on the city's part in the long run. Also, we are having my assistant planner get trained in GIS when she goes back to Stanislaus State in the spring. She'll be getting that training so she can come back and work on it here in the city.
It kind of made me think, Mike, in terms of, we tore the streets up and we put in sewer, I think we spent about half, 150,000 or so. And I remember, you know, you were able to see before the streets were paved where they actually put those lines in. And the mayor may recall too when they put those pipes in when we had all the streets tore. But if you were to ask me today where those pipes are actually lined, Ernie, what'd you have to do? Get a map? You'd have to get a map where it's actually been physically drawn. Something that I think is analogous or similar to what you showed us that's been handwritten or drawn. And preferably if someone could if Ernie could come in here, put it up on the screen and highlight it, and then we could see it. Bam, there it is. I just think this is a progressive step, and it's a progressive step that'll be a continuum. The one question I do have, though, and something I've understood about GIS, is the constant input of data as it comes in. Now, when you were referring to the cost factors and the assessments, is that what you're referring to when you talk about maintenance and somebody actually inputting this data into our GIS baseline data system? It sounds like you're already ahead of the curve. Your assistant planner may have some of those as her detail.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. You got to have a person there to say you have a new main going in. Your construction company engineer gives you a set of as-built once it's done. You need somebody to actually take that information and put it in the GIS, and that's where, you know, the connection fee, money you may bring in, however you decide to do it, will pay for that. We're going to provide the base, possibly even show this person how to do it, and from there turn them loose. You know, we're not looking to get on and drag this thing out forever and say, okay, you're getting new information, we'll put it in for you, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. We want to get you the base, get you on your way. Assistant planner works out great. South Placer is hiring a junior engineer or an EIT. Right now they do everything by hand. They're jumping into the digital age rather than teach their drafter that's 60 years old that does everything by hand how to run GIS. They're finding a young engineer that they can bring on and keep this database up to date.
How much did we say again on the cost?
30, 30, 35, somewhere.
Yeah, it's approximately $35,000.
Which, as Michael said, we already budgeted in.
Correct.
It's in the budget.
Right.
No, I think it's a good idea.
I'm just wondering, I mean, you said a minute ago as far as saving time, as far as, you know, being able to, when, you know, applicants come in for, you know, knowing what's out there in terms of the lines and everything else. It seems to me like you could, you know, almost make a case when we're reviewing our AB 1600 information that you could almost tie it into that, you know, with the AB 1600, because it's certainly going for that purpose, because especially when you have new applicants coming in, I mean, it's certainly to their benefit as well, you know, to know where all this stuff is in terms of efficiency and everything else. I mean, you could almost make that case for that. Is that something we could look at?
It's definitely something. In fact, I envision that someday at our counter we'll just have a monitor and a mouse, and people can go over the city and just click on it and look at their property and see what is zoned for, what you can do under there. So, and Bob's got a piece of commercial property here on the highway. He clicks on it, tells him what the zoning is. You click on the zoning, then it brings up all the different uses, what the setbacks are, and all that information. So it's all right there at one time instead of having to call the planner up. What the zone? They tell you, what can I do there? And we have to get out, well, what do you want to do there? You just, here it's just all click of the mouse, and
Yeah.
you can do it at the counter.
But what I was getting at is as far as ongoing costs of it.
Ongoing costs,
to-
yeah, we can.
To basically be able to do that. And I know, and I see Brad out there, and I know I commend Stanislaus County for what they have done. You know, just being able to, as you say, you go on the internet at home, you pull up different pieces of ground to see what they're zoned, and, you know, it has everything. I mean, Stanislaus County has been great as far as implementing that and being so far ahead of the game, you know, on being able to do that. And I'm sure Brad could attest to the fact that it saves people a lot of time having to go out to Modesto. They could just click on the stuff from home. And I mean, if we could get to that point as well, where people are just clicking on and on the deal and seeing where the different things are, it certainly frees up a lot of the time as well. I think this is certainly a step in the right direction.
This is not new for us. Former City Manager Cleve Morris brought this to council attention several years ago about GIS and the fact of the progressiveness of GIS. And I think if my colleague there, Mike Crinklaw, is gained some comfort with this presentation tonight, I'd move that this council amend the scope of work to include the GIS database.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Mike will show you how to use it when we get it. Oh,
Don't worry about that, Charlie.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Unless you want it broken.
we'll get a screen that you can't break. How's that? Item C, adopt resolution number 2006. Next number, a resolution adopting a memorandum of understanding with Stanislaus County regarding the transfer of ownership of transit bus facilities.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. As stated in the staff report, background on this, Stanislaus County obtained a federal administration grant for the inter-city bus program, and also they got a second grant from the congestion mitigation air quality program, and that was for the express purpose to install all these bus shelters and bus stops, benches, map information holders, and signs. Stanislaus County is proposing that to transfer ownership of the facilities to the city of Newman. The transfer of ownership, if approved, would not be in effect until after July 1 of 2010. The city then would be responsible for maintenance and repair of said facilities, and this proposed action would not absolve the county of all the responsibilities related to the facilities as spelled out in the memorandum of understanding. Pretty much what they're going to be doing is, that's the reason why I say it's minimal impact on the city, is that they will continue to care for the shelters in case there's any damage to them. If this MOU is approved, they will also set up a program whereas they'll come along and pressure wash the shelters and the benches. Mostly what they're asking is that we take care of the garbage and the trash that accumulates at these bus stops. Tonight, the transit manager, Brad Christian, is here in the audience tonight to
Well, but that's,
answer any questions or concerns you may
that's
have.
pretty much the bottom line. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, right?
Mhm.
I don't have,
Simple deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a
And we're already taking care of the garbage. Brad, you're not coming and picking up our garbage, are you? If you are, thank you, but
What else do you want?
you're a heck of a guy.
You know, the funny thing is, though, Ernie, you know, you look at these and, you know, just a few years back, you'd see 2010, you'd think, wow, that's so far away. It's,
Yeah,
wow, it's 3 years away to 2010.
it really is.
Unbelievable. To me, I don't have any questions. I mean, Brad's always been a stand-up guy with the city, and,
Is that a motion?
yeah, I make a motion that we
I'll
move
second.
forward with this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brad, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
They look nice, by the way.
Great presentation, Brad.
They're pretty nice. Like the bus stops.
Item D, adopt resolution number 2006. Next number, a resolution approving agreement with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection and committing $2,728 in matching funds.
Thank you, council. Again, this is a resolution allowing the city to apply for the grant to buy some wildland safety clothing, turnout, if you will. The money's already budgeted in the budget, and so we're just asking for your concurrence so we can enter into that protection agreement as required by the grant.
Questions? If not, a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item E, adopt resolution number 2006. Next number, a resolution authorizing the examination of sales, use, and transactions, tax records, and contract with HDL companies for sales and use tax auditing services.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple companies in the state that what they'll do is they go through all of your sales tax records and make sure that there aren't any inconsistencies on there. There are potential to lose revenues for the city based upon maybe the person didn't fill out the information correctly, maybe they're not reporting it correctly. There's several different ways that this can occur. And as you know, we gain more and more sales tax, or becoming more and more dependent on sales tax for revenues into our city. So anyways, we're recommending that we hire HDL companies to come in and take a look at all of our sales tax records of the businesses within town to make sure that we're getting accurate reporting, that we're getting the sales tax due to the city. This doesn't cost the city any monies. What they do is they come in, take a look at the information. If they find any money, they get 15% of the found money for 8 quarters. If they don't find any money and everybody's doing it correctly, they don't get anything.
I have 2 questions on this, and I was hoping Bob could come in here in a second, because we had this discussion probably about 10 years ago. I'm trying to remember, I know, can somebody get Bob in here real quick? I know there was an issue with this, but was it 10 years ago, Judy? About 10, wasn't it? And I know one of the questions, and I know Bob's main concern back then, and I just want to make sure that this is addressed as well, was there were some intrusiveness issues. You remember?
I'm sorry, would you please bring me up to date?
On the sales tax issue, when we were examining doing the auditing and the sales tax. Remember about 10 years ago we discussed.
Regarding sales tax for merchants?
Yeah, you remember the auditing issue where?
Right.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I remember you had some concerns back then, so
Well, it wasn't just me. I think the chamber and more than a few of the merchants were concerned that information may not be held in strictest of confidence.
Right,
And that
right,
was the main issue.
right.
You
With
know,
the company that was going to do it at the time, is that what you meant?
Well, we didn't know who was going to be exposed to that information, and that was
Oh,
our
okay.
concern. And that would certainly be my concern as a merchant. I mean, if you're going to audit our sales records for use, and I'm a little step behind here, but for the, say, to set the fee for a business license, or levy some kind of an additional tax based on our sales, I think you're going to get a lot of resistance from.
I don't think.
And this,
I
this
don't
one
think
was
that's
more
what
for
this
the
is.
sales, the auditing, the sales tax and everything else, but I do remember there was that issue with regards to
Yeah.
who would see the records and
You know,
everything else.
and even with the assurance of staff and the council and everyone involved, that doesn't put people at ease. Because there's always still that question, okay, yeah, we certainly would trust the city manager and certainly this body here, but, beyond that, we don't know where that information's going and who's going to have privy to it. Because as we all know, well, they have it most of the time anyway, but as we all know, the minute you fill out anything, the risk of it getting out everywhere is, in my opinion, pretty big today. That's why, we all receive these little free offers from who name, you pick it. And the first thing I do is throw it in the garbage, and
Every
if it
day.
comes on my internet, I don't fill it out. I don't put my email address, I don't put anything. There are some things, even myself, and I'm sure the rest of us have come been exposed to this, is that you have perhaps a charity or something that you really believe in, and you feel like, gee, I want to be a part of that, and I believe in the cause, and all of a sudden you get inundated with all this other stuff that you don't know where it came from. But if you just did one thing, and that's the only thing that you did, that's where it came from, because they took all of your personal information and sold it. And that happens all the time. And so if you want to know why, personally, I would be concerned about having everything audited, that would be one reason, is that we just don't know. You can always say, you get all the assurances in the world, it's secure, it's secure, it's secure, and all of a sudden you're flooded with all this mail that you didn't even want. And that's just that part of it. And who knows what else it could be used for.
Do we have do you have the policy? This company, is there something that they
Yeah,
have?
this is a company that they didn't seek us out. We sought them out. HDL is a reputable company. You saw the list of cities that they currently work for and do this current service for. They protect the rights of the owners. They understand that the information that they are getting is confidential, and they treat it as such. They have no right and no authority to use this to gain any knowledge to sell to a third party. You know, this is only for us. And basically, we're not using it to establish any taxes. We just want to ensure that the city is getting our fair share of sales tax generated in our community. We could be losing out on thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a year. We don't know until we audit that and take a look at that. So, you know, that adds up over a period of time on how much money that could be. So
Yeah, and like I said, the reason I brought it up, because I remember we had this discussion about 10 years ago, and there were some concerns about it. I just wanted to make sure that we address the confidentiality portion of it. That would be
definitely,
the same issue.
How's it audited now, Michael?
it's not.
They just send in sales tax and nobody ever checks anything?
Well, you know, they send us a CD-ROM, but we don't have the staff to pour through that and the knowledge of where to look to find any, you know, misappropriations or malfeasibility. I know Margaret used to look at those a little bit, but I don't know that she went in that depth about it. These guys, this company is experts in this type of stuff, so this is what they do. This is how they gain their revenues. So unfortunately, we don't have the skills at our staff level to do this. And most cities, you're looking at cities of Lathrop and Merced. Merced is quite larger than us. Their staff doesn't have the capabilities of doing this. Lathrop doesn't have the capabilities of doing this. You know, these are cities that are quite larger than ours, and their financial staff doesn't have the capabilities of doing this.
Didn't we do
But they
this?
found it feasible to do.
Didn't we do this before, Judy?
You didn't ever do it. You authorized staff to very carefully keep this information secret. And only one person could know.
That was like 10 years ago.
But there was always the confidentiality.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we definitely want that, for sure.
And
If
that's
this-
definitely in there.
yeah,
We
if
would
it's a
run any
reputable
contract by
company,
our-
then,
Yeah,
yeah.
if it's a reputable company, we'd run all contracts by our city attorney, but from staff's perspective, we don't know what we're losing at this particular time, so we think it's, again, it's an investment into our community for 15% of whatever we would get. You know, I think that's a fair deal. We get 85%. If we get zero or nothing, 85% of something.
Sounds like all the other most cities are going this way now with these audits, so.
All larger cities do it.
Yeah.
Correct.
I guess
With
we'll do
that,
it too.
there's no more questions, direction, comments?
Move that we adopt resolution number 2006 next to number. Resolution authorizing the examination of sales, use, and transaction tax records and contract with HDL companies for sale and use tax auditing services.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item 11, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I have filled the council in, but also filled the community in. Last Tuesday, we had a interview panel in this room, interview 4 different and unique design teams for our aquatic center and our community center. And we had 4 very good proposals. We've narrowed that down to 2 proposals. And so we're gaining some final information from each of the last 2 finalists. We will be doing a tour of some projects and doing some due diligence and following through with references and the like. And originally, we had hoped to bring this to you at your first meeting in December, but in all likelihood, it's probably going to be in January before we come back with a recommendation. But you know, in meeting with the design teams, we are still on track to have an aquatic center in 2009. And on this path that we're continuing down, that is something that is still very achievable. And I'd like to, thank the council and the redevelopment agency for continuing to keep this on the front burner. I know this is a very important project for our community, and I think we're going in a good direction. So I just want to keep you informed on that.
Do you want to fill everybody in on who the blue ribbon panel was? For those that don't know.
Yeah, of course, led by the mayor. And then we had myself. We had a recreation Commissioner Jeff Ogden on there. He had a distinct experience with different aquatic centers throughout not only California, but he has also lived in other states. And he has a young family, and they attended a lot of those. We had Greg Lamb, who's the CEO from Precision Inspection. His family have been competitive swimming for a long time. So he had on them because he had some experience with that. He also has some experience with the building code. We had Tony Mattos on there. And she was, again, a competitive swimmer here. Not only that, she was a pool manager and I believe swim team coach for a long time. And then we had our recreation supervisor, Terry Heiberger, on the committee as well. So it was two teams pretty much separated themselves from the other two. Originally, we had 9. We cut that down to a short list of 4, and now we've shortlisted again to the final 2. And I think whichever one we recommend to the council, we will not be wrong because they're both very good teams. So they just bring different things to the table right now. On Friday, I'm pleased to announce that we will be having a young lady from Gustine, Miss Sonia Silva. She will be joining our staff as an accountant. She will be replacing a person that was no longer with the city, and I think he probably left in September. And we've been filling that in on a part-time basis right now. She's a trained an accountant, and she currently works for New Cal Foods out of Ripon, California. So she's scheduled to start this Friday, December 1st, and we're excited to have her on board. I have received a call and an email from the Alliance, and they would like to meet with myself, the mayor, and another council member, talk about the enterprise zone, also talk about the Alliance. Alliance is, a private-public partnership, and they're a 5-year strategy for them as they're working on developing a 5-year strategy and how they can incorporate Newman into that. So I know the mayor, if I can get some dates and times from you, if there's any other council member that would like to sit in on that meeting, you let us know some dates and times that you're available. We'll try to accommodate that. Right now, we're just looking at January as a time. With the holiday season, it's very difficult to get lots of people into the same room. So if over the next couple of days you can send me some times and locate that you might be available, we'll get that taken care of. So with that, that's all that I had today.
Michael, with the new accounting coming on board, are we still going to retain Bruce Budman on a
Yes.
part-time consultant basis?
Bruce will continue to oversee the department on a limited basis, on a contract basis. But this particular person has the potential to develop into a finance director into the future. So, and I think with her ties to being local, born and raised in Gustine, we promised her we wouldn't hold that against her, but just teasing. I think she'll be a very good fit for our community. It's not unlike what we did with our assistant planner. We hired a local gal, and she's worked out great. I think this young lady has the potential to be a long-term employee of our organization and move up through it.
Thank you, Michael. Further staff reports?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We have a couple things coming up. One is we have the tree lighting coming up Friday. It starts with Santa arriving at 5:30, and then we have the tree lighting at 6:30. So just so you're aware that that will be going off. We have the street closed on Main Street from Tulare to Fresno. So, and the second thing of interest is we had a shooting on November 9th. We now have, and we ended up getting a warrant that also went out into the paper of $1.5 million, and that individual is now in custody. So just to put a little closure to that shooting of November 9th. And that's basically all I have. If you have any kind of questions, I'd be more happy to answer those.
Questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of items. We're waiting to enter into another MOU with Stanislaus County Public Works, and that is so that we can get some overlaying of our streets done with them so that we can get better prices. At the present time, we're proposing to overlay L Street and M Street from Merced to Kern Street, and also from Driscoll, if we have enough money in there, from M Street all the way over to Eucalyptus. And then the second thing is that our scheduled center line striping date of last week was washed out, but we have it scheduled for this coming Thursday. That's all I have.
Are there any question?
Yes.
I noticed we put sod in on Driscoll, and how far down will that go? Is that where it stopped? That's it?
We're good. We're just doing that section there, but we're also going to be, we're going to refurbish that area all the way from Barrington over to Balsam by planting other plants and different things.
Okay, what's the plans going down Driscoll and turning on to Hills Ferry? There's an area in there where there's a lot of plants that either they're getting absolutely no water or very little water, and some of them have died.
We're going to be taking a look at all of the landscape areas, and we're going to try and refurbish them by planting new plants and taking out some of the old ones that are old and dead and dying, and refurbish them. But the big work was there between Barrington and Eucalyptus. But we're going to continue on improving all those areas.
Okay. Do you think a good part of that is because the water, they haven't been watered properly, or?
I'm not sure. I do know that we haven't been very happy with our present contractors who do the landscape maintenance. We called them on the carpet a couple of weeks ago, and we told them that we weren't pleased with the jobs that they were doing. And this is one of the reasons why also I will be coming in sometime, hopefully by the last meeting in January, with a new contract going out to bid again for not just the landscape areas, but also 4 major parks. But yes, Councilman, you're right. Those do need attention.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ernie. Nothing, Terry? Okay, item 12, items from city council members. Mike?
I have nothing this evening, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
No, I just think that we ought to challenge Gustine to a soccer game on our new city park.
Pretty bold, huh?
I don't know, has anyone used the park as of today? I mean, to date?
I mean, our new Sherman Park?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like Michael has. Michael, have you taken the kids over there?
Yeah, we've taken the kids out there on more than one occasion, and they're having a great time. And when we were there, there were 2 other families enjoying the park as
That's
well.
good.
So does it pass the kids test? Are they pleased? Or?
It passes the kids test. They run back and forth between the 2 different play equipments, and they chase each other around. They had a great time.
Good.
And when will we dedicate the park?
We're working with a developer right now. We're trying to figure out what's going to be the best time of the year. Do we do it now, or do we just kind of wait for spring to do a formal dedication with much better weather? So.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Bob. Charles?
Yeah, I just wanted to, since this is my last meeting before the new swearing in next month, just wanted to thank the community for allowing me to serve as long as I've served. It's hard to believe that I first got elected 14 and a half years ago. Time's really flown by. I've really enjoyed serving the community. I know at the last meeting, and I made a little comment about it when we had talked about the park, Janet Carlson Park and Bush Rose Park, and it just kind of brought back memories for me, because when I first got on the city council, they were both on there, and just again, seems like yesterday serving with Janet, serving with Bush, and and having those conversations, talking about, when I first got on the council here, we were in the middle of adopting our last general plan. We're in the middle of adopting our redevelopment agency, And, you know, it's hard to believe that that time has gone by that quickly, and to see that we're, you know, just about wrapping up a new general plan already, and how successful the redevelopment agency has been. That, you know, and I can remember a lot of the cities back then, and I'm sure Brad remembers, you know, some of the cities like Riverbank and some of the others that were just resistant to forming redevelopment agencies. I mean, people just had this stigma back then about, you know, what redevelopment agencies were, and, you know, how detrimental they would be, and just it was amazing how people had just fought those, and to see the type of good that it's done, not only in our community but throughout this county, is, you know, you look back at it now, and, you know, we were very wise. I mean, we had, you know, certainly way before me, the Bush Roses and the Janet Carlsons and those people, and the Frank Dompies and the Herd Barringtons, you know, who preceded me, you know, certainly had a lot of vision for our community. And it's all, you know, all the good things now are coming to pass for the good work that they had done. And I, like I said, I'm just glad that I was able to play a small part in the development and advancement of our community. So I want to again thank the community.
Thank you, Charles. Tim?
Well, I too, on the coattails of Charles, just sitting here thinking of how time elapsed. If you had told me when I first moved to this town in 1991 that I would have been serving in the capacities that I have, I would have said, you're kidding me. I can recall my first meeting that I just kind of fell into these chambers to find out what was going on in this town, because I had heard about the downtown redevelopment, the Plaza project. This is prior to the Nob Hill shopping center, prior to the street lights that we have now. And you know, it was interesting enough that at that time I recall not only Janet as the mayor, but Paul Dickey was serving as a council member who lived a few homes away from me, and he introduced me to the idea of applying for the planning commission. And my question to him at that time, as I was out mowing my lawn, was, planning commission, what do they do? And from there, I served there that 4 years and expanded to the council, and that was a decade ago, in 1996. And just as Charles was alluding to, his 14 and a half years, how the time really flies when you've committed yourself to a service that is something that you certainly don't have to do, but once you gain the attitude of a committed service, you really gain a passion for it. And I've always stated and thought it's something you should do really unselfishly. You should put the commitment that you have out there in front of you to the community as a whole, and that's something I've tried to do. One of the things I've thought about during this tenure was, you know, I didn't have any gray hairs 10 years ago, and I think, John, your hair was a little bit longer, if I recall.
Longer and not as gray also.
But during the course of that time, it's been extremely enjoyable. I think some of the vision that Charles alluded to that came prior to my sitting behind his dais came to fruition during my tenure. For example, the streetscape. We tore up the streets and rebuilt them at the time that I was serving. I remember vividly my first StanCog meeting, the county transportation meeting, because I went up there and I immediately asked for an additional $80,000 to $100,000 for the city of Newman, and I think it kind of made an impression. So I felt fortunate to be able to represent the city for the past 4 years, outgoing as the vice chair for that committee. And then finally, just the mere fact that this city is in really good fiscal shape. It's always been fiscally conservative. We certainly are moving in a progressive manner. We've always been, in certain aspects, more progressive than some of our larger cities, I found out, during the course of serving and participating in the League of California Cities, which is comprised of over 75 cities in the state. RDA was mentioned. The fact that we have a city council managerial style, and we have a work plan book for that, a guideline. Those were things that some of our larger counterparts took from us. And I just think that the city is definitely headed for bigger and brighter things. One thing that I thought in terms, as I close, is the hiring of Michael Holland, our current city manager, during my tenure, and maybe you can even think back to Charles, it's been extremely good. And I think that when you talk about vision and direction and the vision of the leaders here behind this, you have someone that has a work ethic to get those things done and to also push you forward with some other innovative ideas. Just to give you a quick example, he kind of mentioned about a computer on the counter as people come in to pay their bills or to have questions about the city, and a directory of something like that. I just think it's forward thinking, and I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity. And I think with the candidates elect, you're going to see a continuum. There will be a growing line there, but you have 3 veterans that'll still be here that I think will certainly keep things in line. And to that end, I say thank you.
Just want to remind everyone about the tree lighting Friday, downtown Newman. We'll have that one blocked off. And again, Charles and Tim, it's been a privilege to serve on the council with both of you. You will be missed.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it very much. With that, we will adjourn the closed session with 2 items. Oh,
The Christmas mixer.
oh, thank you, Dave. Yeah, we won't have a meeting for the Christmas mixer. Chamber of Commerce Christmas mixer, December 7th, West Side Theater, 6 o'clock. Everyone's welcome. Like I say, it's Christmas mixer. We'll have Christmas trees there. We'll do a auction on those, silent auction type thing, and everyone's welcome. Thanks for reminding me, Tim. With that, we adjourn to closed session.